My name is Maalavika Manoj. I'm 16 years old and I'm from Chennai, India. The phenomenon of female infanticide is not new, but age-old, and has selectively accounted for the most number of selective gender deaths throughout the country. It remains a critical concern in a number of third world countries like China and India, which are the most populous. Female infanticide reflects the low status accorded to women in most parts of the world and is arguably the most brutal and destructive manifestation of anti-female bias. Female infanticide is definitely categorized under genocide. I'd like to call my presentation Callous Genocide. In today's edition of the newspaper dated 9th October 2009, there has been a case where twin girls were brutally murdered by their mother and their grandmother. One was killed by slitting the throat with a blade, and the other was suffocated to death. In India, from time immemorial, the female form has been worshipped as Mother Goddess. She is the sign of creation, fertility, victory, and luck. But economic and social practices over time have reduced the female child to a liability and a burden, and something to be silently and shamefully disposed of. In many parts of India, only one crop a year can be grown. It is home to the poorest people and the most illiterate people in the world. This is an ideal breeding ground for female infanticide. This gruesome and brutal murder of infants is unethical and would not happen unless there are severe social and economic compulsions and great despair. Abjectly poor families routinely kill girl babies after birth for fear that they can't afford to raise them comfortably or provide the exorbitant dowry required by a groom's family. A boy is considered as an asset and a girl a liability to be disposed of. An old midwife with her native wisdom had a perfect explanation as to why more girl babies were getting killed every year. The value of a girl goes down every time the value of gold goes up, she said. In Dharmapuri and Ussalampatti, some of the worst affected areas in southern India, an average of 105 baby girls are killed every month. That is, an average of 3 babies a day in a small area of about 250 square kilometers. UNICEF has estimated that 50 million girls are missing from the Indian society, and in some parts of India, there are fewer than 800 girls to every 1,000 boys. The imbalance between the sexes is now so distorted in China due to the one-child policy that there are 111 million men in China, more than 3 times the population of Canada, who will not be able to find a wife as a result of systematic decimation of the female infant. It is considered to be the biggest single holocaust in human history. In India, unwanted girl children are fed with milk laced with either a poisonous sap from a plant or paddy husk as soon as they are born. The husk method is most cruel. It slits the tender gullet with its sharp sides as it slides down the tiny throat. Some are strangled or allowed to starve to death. The more modern families use pesticides or sleeping pills. Sometimes they just suffocate the infant with a pillow. From a quick and relatively painless procedure, infanticide has turned into a prolonged and torturous one. Families are afraid of detection, and if someone registers a case of suspected infanticide and the body is exhumed, then the old methods of killing can be detected. As a result, modern methods have come in place. The newborn is deliberately weakened and dehydrated by its own parents. This is by wrapping the infant in a wet towel or dipping it in cold water soon after delivery. If the baby is still alive after a few hours, it is taken to a doctor who diagnoses it as pneumonia, and medicines are prescribed. The medicines are never given and the child dies. The villagers now resort to cremate little bodies. Once upon a time, they buried the killed infants in shallow graves in the fields. Avoiding detection, therefore, has become as important as the killing itself. Baby Lakshmi has been saved from the cruel practice of infanticide, but let us hope that history does not repeat itself and she is not placed in a position in the future where she is persuaded to kill her own daughter. Female infanticide is a widely prevalent practice, but talking about it is not. Giving a baby up for adoption is frowned upon, but killing it is not. Female infanticide has become a highly sensitive topic following an important judgment where a mother has been tried and found guilty of murdering her infant daughter and sentenced to life imprisonment. Can a woman who has no power over her womb be dubbed a murderer? It is further victimizing the victim, who is powerless to stand against her family and the society. Governments of the countries where female infanticide is rampant, as well as international agencies like the UN, should set up work centers in the female infanticide-prone regions, where women can work, earn money, and be independent. Such income generation will prevent them from resorting to this evil practice. The consequence of female infanticide should be made clear to the students in schools right from the early stage, so that this is deeply embedded in their mind. Expectant mothers should be effectively counseled against this heinous practice. Second female babies' requirements should be taken care of by the government or international organizations. The world and the UN should do a lot more than criticize or sermonize from the sidelines. The consequences of female infanticide is disastrous and universal. Large amounts of funding and aid need to be pumped into these countries or specific regions where female infanticide is rampant. If such aid is really implemented, then this pernicious practice can be eradicated like sati, polio, or smallpox.
These bright little girls laughing and playing in the sunshine are the bright shining future of modern India, and they are the future mothers of an emerging superpower nation. Without them, there will be no nation. Unless we're able to bring about a sea change in the lives of these young girls who are the mothers of tomorrow, there will be no change that we can sustain.